Tanni Grey-Thompson is Britain's most successful Paralympian ever. But how many Paralympic medals has she won? 8, 12 or 16? Find out after the break. Tanni Grey-Thompson is Britain's most successful Paralympian ever. But how many Paralympic medals has she won? The answer is 16.
Yeah, Tanni Grey-Thompson achieved a staggering 16 medals in wheelchair racing at Paralympic events, 11 of which were gold. And a Paralympic star of the future coming up a little bit later on the show, Helen Freeman, is here, and we're going to talk to her about going for success in London 2012. Welcome back, I'm Gabby Logan. You're watching the Wright Stuff Extra. Royal star Amy Robbins is here this morning, and I'm also joined by vet Joe Ingles. Coming up with just a year to go before the Paralympics, as I say, Helen Freeman is here. We're talking to her, and later Joe is here to help with all your pet problems. 0207 173 5555 is the number to call. Yep, you'll be hearing from Joe a little bit later on, but first, Amy has her own issue with a dog that I understand you share.
With
They share the
my
dog.
doggy.
Yes.
I do share my doggy.
It's not problems not with the dog, though?
No problem, not with problem. Well, various problems with the dog. Never stops driving everyone bonkers. But it is a Bichon Frise, and I've heard they're a bit nuts, aren't they? She's very sweet.
Any dog can be a bit nuts, to be honest, but Bichon Frise, they tend to be, yeah, they're characterful is, I suppose, a polite way of putting it.
Yeah, she's a sweet little thing. No, I share my dog with my sister, Kate. But no, my question was about my guinea pigs. Ginger, Fudge and Toffee.
I think most guinea pigs are called Fudge and Toffee.
Are they?
So,
are they?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a relief.
They're common.
Yes.
And what's the problem with the guinea pigs?
No, it's not a problem as such. I just am aware that they never stop eating, and I mean never stop eating. You could give them a bag of 3 ton of cabbage or whatever, fresh veg, and they just go at it, and they eat and they eat and they eat, and they're getting fatter and fatter and fatter. And they've got a nice run. It's quite big. But I'm aware that I'm wondering that they're not getting enough exercise.
Well, I mean, animals like guinea pigs, they don't naturally take exercise. I mean, in the wild, they will sort of run out, eat, and the only exercise they will take will be foraging for food. So if the food's delivered to them on a plate, then they will just think, wow, fantastic, I'll eat that, and I'm going to, put my feet up, and they don't need to exercise. So really, to control their weight, you have to control the amount of food they're taking in. And if they are getting fat, then obviously you need to feed them less. I think nowadays you can get sort of diet guinea pig foods, so it might be worth looking into that. But
strictly no carbs.
Well, yeah, but we see obesity in all animals now, and it's the rise of there's so many more convenience food for pets, and guinea pigs included. So you really just need to look at how much they're eating, and if they are getting fat, I mean, it'd be worth checking with your vet, because it's sometimes hard to see under all that fur. You think they're getting fat, but if you actually got them wet, there'd be a tiny little guinea pig in the middle. So you do need to confirm they really are fat.
You got some kitchen scales?
Oh. The trouble with me is that they start, and they are incredibly sweet.
They're lovely
they're
guinea pigs,
aren't
they?
Yeah. But when it comes, my daughters and I and my husband, we try to sort of handle them, but I think we didn't handle them enough when they were tiny, and they can be quite sort of not spiteful exactly. But
I've never met a nasty guinea pig.
No, they're not.
No,
lovely personality, great sense of humour, and generous. But no, no.
It sounds like they need to go on a diet anyway.
Okay.
I think they do.
We're talking pet food in a moment, actually. One of the stories I want to discuss with you today is concerning pet food. But let's do the first story, which is about women talking to their dogs more than their partners. 1 in 5 say they have a better quality of conversation with their pet than their partner. Obviously, you share your dog, so you can't talk to it all the time. Well, I'm not sure that I would confide in my dog in the way that these women allegedly are doing. Do you talk to your dog?
No, I do. I find myself wittering onto the dog in a kind of little silly baby voice. But I wouldn't confide in it as such.
But I think the dogs are the best listeners, because they're completely non-judgmental. You can talk to them. You can, if you've had a bad day, you can take it all. Well, not take it out on the dog, but you can tell it all to the dog and say, oh, I've had a terrible day, it's been awful or whatever, and the dog will sit there and go, and when's my dinner coming? But you probably think that maybe he's listening to you, and it's a good way of unburdening yourself. And I think it's a sort of outlet for people. It's obviously not a two-way conversation, but you know, I think the other thing it says is probably it's more of a reflection on the state of people's relationships with their partners than with their dogs.
Well, also, 40% of people in the survey had actually taken time off work to care for their pets, which is alarmingly high statistic.
That doesn't surprise me, to be honest. I mean, pets are so much part of our family now, and you know they're seen as you know, replacement children for a lot of people. And I think if pets are ill, people want to care for them. People will pay thousands and thousands of pounds to get their pets right if they're ill. You know, they really do. People, you know, we are a nation of animal lovers, so I don't think it's unusual for people.
A lot of people leaving the radio and television on as well.
And that's quite a good thing.
Hello, Fido, for their animals when they go out. We discussed this before about what we don't know what our animals are doing when we're not there, obviously. And there was a study where they'd filmed a lot of the animals actually getting quite depressed when their owners were out. And
not when they're watching this show, obviously.
No, obviously they're jumping around, jumping on the furniture, and off that. But is this a good idea if you're worried about your pet? Should you leave the radio on?
I think it is. Yeah, I mean, it's giving them something, you know, something to engage with while you're away. But obviously, as we talk about this survey, we don't really know, or most people don't really know what their pets are up to, and there could be all these dogs at home with their sort of, you know, paws over their ears, you know, drowning out the radio. So I guess we assume
I'm 8 now. I hate Radio 1. Yeah.
We assume they like it, but it's hard to know for sure. But I think it's probably a fair assumption that something going on in the background might be a good thing to distract them from perhaps things that would stress them out, like the owners being away.
Perhaps a crossword or Sudoku or whatever.
You'd be shocked if it came back and it was all filled in.
It's all done.
Let's talk about pet food though, because apparently we Brits spend £2.1 billion a year on pet food. Half of that is on cat food. And obviously a lot of the food now for cats is luxury, it's classed as luxury cat food. Certainly the packaging, and you look at it, and I haven't got a cat, but I often get jealous for my dog when I see cat packaging. You know, it's all gold and luxurious. And do cats really need that kind of food? I mean, will the bog standard cat food suffice?
I mean, I think, you know, 10, 15 years ago, we all fed our cats and dogs fairly low quality foods. You know, it's made of fairly low quality ingredients, and people put up with that. But now there really has been a movement towards understanding what's actually in pet foods, and the ingredients are in there, and the link between diet and health. So I think it is important that people feed good quality foods, and I'm not surprised about this rise in these super sort of expensive foods, but people do need to be aware that just because it's expensive doesn't necessarily mean it's good. So you do need to look at what's actually in these foods. But you know, as I said, pets are the family, part of the family, and you wouldn't feed your children junk food, but more and more people wouldn't, and the same applies to our pets.
But I'm imagining there must be a sort of a minimal standard of nutritional value.
There are, but to be honest, they're pretty low. I mean,
I
actually run my own pet food company, so I know sort of quite a lot about this, and the standards at the lowest end are, you know, you can get away with feeding absolute rubbish to pets, and it complies with regulations. So really, people do need to look at the labels and understand the quality of the goods.
But it's a psychological thing, isn't it? If you're buying these little tiny tins,
you feel like you're doing more for your animal.
Yes, and it's tender pieces of steak in a so-and-so jelly, and it's entirely for the owner's benefit.
It is,
you know?
Well, don't worry, if you're thinking that your cat might be getting a little bit fat, or you're feeding your fish the wrong food, Joe will be here taking your calls later on that and a whole lot more. 0207 173 5555 is the number. Now, I'd be interested in hearing what you think about this. A group of North London residents are facing a battle to save their local wild space. They're hoping to get funding to make the former sports field into something the whole community will enjoy, but the land could be used for housing instead, so we sent Kirsty to find out more.